2017 has been a great year for sports, but let us not forget those notable sports stars and sports figures who have passed away this year. Just like me, you might be surprised at who's on the list, and we should not forget the great memories they have provided us fans throughout the years. And if you know someone who is not on the list of notoriety that I may have missed, please feel free to leave their name in the comments section. Jimmy Superfly Snuka. Born as James Wiley Smith, Jimmy Superfly Snuka was an amazing talent on the WWE circuit and definitely had a flair for both what he did in the ring as well as what he did out of it. I remember being a young child watching what was then the WWF and saying to myself, man, this guy is out there. Interestingly enough, 2 weeks before he passed away, murder charges on him were dropped in the 1983 death of his girlfriend, as the 73-year-old Snuka was suffering from dementia and stomach cancer. He passed away in January 2017. Two odd deaths also occurred in January of this year, as recent former major leaguers Jordana Ventura and Andy Marte died in separate car accidents in the Dominican Republic. Ventura, only 25, helped the Royals win a World Series in 2015, and Marte, 33, played for the Braves, Indians, and Diamondbacks as recently as 2014. Mike Ilitch. Ilitch, the 87-year-old owner of the Detroit Red Wings and Detroit Tigers, died in February of this year. He was an absolute legend and a pillar of the Detroit community, growing the Little Caesars pizza chain into becoming synonymous with cheap, hot pizza, and then building two unbelievably successful franchises in the Red Wings and the Tigers, with the Wings winning 4 cups under his ownership. You also might not know that he owned an Arena League team, the Detroit Drive, and a professional softball team, the Detroit Caesars. Ilitch was beloved in the community and throughout the nation for his philanthropic endeavors. George the Animal Steele. Jim Myers, better known as the Animal, died earlier this year at the age of 79, and I can say I absolutely loved his character and his crazy antics inside the ring, especially his undying love of Elizabeth. His average appearance, amazingly bad back hair, and bald head endeared fans to his everyman style and flair. Of course, you always waited for him to start eating that turnbuckle, which was both scary and amazing at the same time. Boxing lost legend Lou Duva in March this year, the storied cornerman and coach for many champions in the ring, most notably Evander Holyfield. He was 94. Jerry Krause. There are many stories around Jerry Krause, who was the architect around the Bulls teams that absolutely dominated the 1990s. Most of the stories involved Michael Jordan's constant teasing and overall dislike of Krause, then the Bulls GM, and Krause keeping together a Bulls dynasty that always seemed to find the players and pieces to keep on winning. Sure, you can say having MJ and Scottie Pippen on the team made winning easy, but Krause managed many egos, personalities, and at his core was a basketball genius. Who else puts Judd Bushler on a roster and makes it work? Dallas Green was a World Series winning manager for the Phillies in 1980 and one of the few men to manage both the Mets and the Yankees. He died in March of this year at the age of 82. Green was a tough love, no-nonsense style manager. Tragically, his 9-year-old granddaughter was killed in 2011 when Congresswoman Gabrielle Giffords was shot during an appearance in Arizona. Dan Rooney. Everyone knows the Rooney family and the influence they have had over the NFL for years, pointed by the steady and professional guidance of Dan Rooney, a legend of the sport. In his ownership of the Steelers, he saw his team win 6 Super Bowls, and he concurrently served as the U.S. ambassador to Ireland for 3 years from 2009 to 2012. The Pro Football Hall of Famer since 2000, Rooney was 84 when he passed in April of this year. Steve Palermo. Many of you might not have heard about Steve Palermo, who in my mind is a hero and deserves recognition for his gallant actions and personal sacrifices he made. Palermo, a former Major League umpire who was excellent at his job, was dining with fellow umpires after a game in 1991 outside of Dallas when an altercation broke out as 2 waitresses were being robbed. As he intervened, he was shot in his spinal cord, paralyzing him and effectively ending his career as an umpire. Doctors said he would never walk again. However, Palermo, determined to walk again, threw out the first pitch of the 1991 World Series, only 3 months after having surgery. Palermo was 67. Cortez Kennedy was a dominating defensive tackle who played his entire career for the Seahawks back before their success. An 8-time Pro Bowler and member of the Pro Football Hall of Fame, Kennedy used his size and speed to rack up 58 career sacks. Kennedy was only 48 years old when he was found deceased in his Orlando home, the cause of death not fully known. Foul play is not expected as Kennedy had symptoms of dizziness and swelling in his legs prior to his death. Kennedy was beloved by fans and teammates alike and is also a member of the Seahawks Ring of Honor. Jim Bunning passed away in May of this year at the age of 85. He pitched a perfect game in 1963 and was elected to the Baseball Hall of Fame. Bunning also served as a U.S. Senator for the state of Kentucky for 2 terms and had a very vocal presence regarding steroids in baseball on Capitol Hill. Bunning had a career record of .224 and 84, a career ERA of .327, and 2,855 strikeouts, playing for 5 MLB clubs, most notably the Phillies. Frank Deford. Legendary sports writer Frank Deford passed away on Sunday, May 28, 2017 in Key West, Florida at the age of 79. Deford wrote for Sports Illustrated for an astonishing 55 years from 1962 to 2017. His style and flair, both in writing and his memorable appearance, allowed him to serve as an icon of sports writing, as over his career he wrote 18 books and is enshrined in the National Sports Writers Hall of Fame. As some of you know, in my 5 MLB records nobody wants, I reserve a special section for most consecutive losses for a pitcher, a record held by the late Anthony Wayne Young, who died in June of this year at the age of 51 following a lengthy battle with brain cancer. Young, the former Met, Cub, and Astro, had amazing talent, and his record of 27 consecutive losses is more of a combination of circumstance and bad luck than talent. Young was an amazing teammate, coach, and friend, and I admired his positive attitude throughout the streak and throughout his life beyond baseball. Jimmy Piersall, the former fireballing major leaguer and fiery personality, died this year at the age of 87. Piersall, who struggled with mental illness, had numerous incidents, including a fist fight with Billy Martin and spanking his teammate's 4-year-old son, actually wrote a tell-all book called Fear Strikes Out, which dives deep into his lifelong struggles with mental illness. If you have seen the movie Rudy, you know about the legend Ara Parseghian, who guided Notre Dame in winning 2 national championships in 1966 and 1973, coaching Joe Theismann before abruptly leaving the school in 1974 to begin a successful career in broadcasting. Parseghian is regarded by Notre Dame football fans as one of the legends of the school. He was 94 when he passed on August 2nd. Hockey can't be left off this list as former Edmonton Oilers enforcer Dave Semenko, who skated alongside the great one Wayne Gretzky in the 80s, died after a battle with cancer June 29th. The 2-time Stanley Cup champion, originally from Winnipeg, was 59 years old. Don Baylor, the former Yankees player and 1979 AL MVP award winner, died on Monday, August 7th after a battle with cancer. He was 68. He also was a fine manager, winning Manager of the Year in 1995 with the Blake Street Bombers and the Colorado Rockies, one of the rare people to win both an MVP and Manager of the Year during their careers. Baylor battled with multiple myeloma, a blood cancer, for nearly 14 years before passing in August. And finally, this last one I know pretty well, as he was one of the bad boys for a Phillies team that was out of control in the early 90s. Darren Daulton passed away in August of this year after a 4-year battle with brain cancer, the same cancer that struck Gary Carter. He was only 55 years old. Now, as a Met fan who grew up in DC, my dad used to take me to games at the Vet in the early 90s. I can remember an early May game in which Daulton came up to the plate batting, I think 157 at the time. I was thinking, well, here's an easy out, as he proceeded to rip a double up the gap, and I think he ended up batting over 300 that year as the Phillies rode a wave of fun, mullets, and personality to a World Series appearance. Of course, his buddy and former Met Lenny Dykstra wrecked his car one night, but Dutch, as he was known to fans and mates, was definitely a guy that had your back. There are countless other personalities that have passed this year, and I wish I had time to list them all. However, like I stated before, please leave any in the comments section. My thoughts go out to all the families and friends of those who have passed on this list. And if you aren't already, please hit that subscribe button, and if you really like me, turn on notifications as well. And if you like this video, please leave a like. I'm 5 Points Vids, and you made it to the end of this video.